Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. I want to first and foremost give all honor, glory, and praises to the Most High. And we do so by Sham Hamashiach Yahawashi, not by Shem, but by Sham Hamashiach Yahawashi. So we are gathered on this consecrated morning of the seventh day, the Sabbath, to strip the mask off the great whore of Babylon. Before we dive into this spiritual warfare, I need you to hit the subscribe button right now. Look, if you don't subscribe, you're basically giving the Vatican permission to change your third day to a sixth day and tell you it's the holy day of obligation. Don't let the Roman beast hijack your notification the same way they hijack the calendar. Subscribe now so you don't miss the truth while the rest of the world is sleeping at the wheel. So let's take a look at the horizon. The world is on fire and the heat is rising in the east. Iran has officially declared jihad, and the cyber jihad movement is already moving to strike the West. This isn't just another headline or spiritual talking point. This is the shaking of the nations. We are watching the fulfillment of prophecy in real time. In these last days, you cannot afford to be out of pocket. You must get your spirit, body, and soul fully aligned with the Most High. That's fully aligned with the Most High. Spiritual warfare isn't just about the words you pray. It's about how you maintain the temple. If your body is broken down by the poisons of Babylon, you won't have the endurance to stand when the real shaking begins. You need the discipline of the spirit and the strength of the flesh to survive what is coming. Because the hour is urgent, I'm introducing new short segments focused on health and wellness. I'm going to show you how to truly govern the body. It's going to be a segment called The Grocery Shop. I'm taking you into the aisles to show you how to navigate the slow kill additives and avoid the abominations they put on the shelves. The training. We're going to work out together. Every session starts with the run to get the spirit moving before we ever touch the steel. Portion control. Babylon wants you gluttonous, sluggish, and easy to manage. We're going to master the plate, training your appetite so your spirit stays in the lead. Returning to the source of deception. The time for playing is over. We prepare the mind, we prepare the soul, and we prepare the temple. Because while the nations prepare for physical war, the mother of harlots is preparing the world for spiritual capture. The smoke from the east is a distraction if you don't see the hand pulling the strings from the 7 hills of Rome. Today, we are going back to the root of the confusion. We are exposing the mother of abominations that has intoxicated the kings of the earth. It's time to deal with the Catholic Church and the blueprint of deception they've laid across the globe. So without further ado, let's open up, as always, to the book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 17. And it reads, "And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all by Sham Hamashiach Yahawashi, giving thanks to the Most High and the Father by Sham Hamashiach Yahawashi." So today's going to be a reaction day to some videos, right? So the first, we're going to talk about the Sabbath day. Let's get this queued up. All right. So that's what we're talking about today, is the Sabbath. So it's been a hijacking. It's pretty much been a theft. The Roman Catholic Church, they openly admit to changing the Sabbath from the 7th day to the 1st day, which is tomorrow. They claim the church has the authority to overrule the Creator's established time. This is the ultimate act of rebellion. The ultimate act of rebellion. Let's play on with the video. Let's go to the Old Testament, right? Let's go to the creation. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 2 and verse let's start at verse 2, right? It says, and on the seventh day, the Most High ended his work, which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And the Most High blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which the Most High created and made, right? So let's play on with the video. That's from the creation. Mm-hmm. You hear that? You see that? The Catholic Church acknowledged, right, that they changed the Sabbath day. They made this acknowledgement. So why are Christians, right, keeping the Sabbath day tomorrow when the Catholic Church acknowledged that they changed the Sabbath? I'm not saying this. We got good old Esau saying this right here, right? They acknowledge that they changed the Sabbath day. That's right. We're gonna get through it today. I will. So we got some buffer in here. Let me I'm gonna jump right to, let me see, let's go to the 10-minute mark of this video. Let's start right here. Let's start right here. So let's actually go through a few scriptures, right, about the Sabbath, right? For those that may be new to this and don't know the Sabbath day. So we read the creation in Genesis chapter 2. Let me see the volume. Let me see, can I fix this volume? So like, bear with me real quick while I try to fix this volume. And let me know if y'all can hear the volume. I'm gonna try to adjust it. Let me know if y'all can hear the volume of this the video. I guess the vibe is not playing. Let me try to change this. Let me know if y'all can hear this. I'm gonna try to go in and come back out for this video right here. Let me see. Okay. All right, let me try this again. All right, let me. So like, y'all bear with me. I'm not sure why this sound is not working on this video. So like, bear with me, y'all. Let me try to do something else with the sound on this video. Let's see. Screen. All right, let's see if this works. And be careful. All right, let's see if this works. If sound works. Let me know if y'all hear this. Could y'all put a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear the audio for this?
Not the rule. Now, additional historical sources affirm that Gentile Christians observe the Sabbath, that the Sabbath united believers with the life and teachings of Jesus, that Christians followed not only Christ's example,
put a 1 in the chat,
but Christ's command. For over 400 years, the historical record is consistent. So that leads to a very serious question. How then was the Sabbath changed? Jesus didn't do it. He says, if you love me, keep my commandments. The disciples couldn't do it.
Okay. All right. Salakia, okay, I think it should be up now. Let me rewind it back a little bit. Let me rewind it back.
He passes the Sunday law in 321 AD to close the workshops on the Venerable Day of the Sun. Now, that wasn't a worship decree. It was a social decree. But
let's rewind that part again. You hear that? Let me rewind that one more time so y'all can get this. And this is another reason why we don't say the name of these deities, right? Let me go to the book of Exodus, chapter 23, in verse 13. And it reads, and in all things that I have said unto you, be circumspect and make no mention of the name of other gods, neither let it be heard out of thy mouth. Meaning you have to be aware of this. Beware that you don't make the name, the mention of other gods, other deities, because this is literally what the Catholic Church is all about. They are about combining paganism and combining the Bible together, right? And that's a disaster for that's a disaster right there for pagan worship and idolatry, right? So let me read that again. Let me replay that again. Let's see. Go back just a little bit.
In Rome, you have the Roman Empire falling apart, and you have the attempt to disassociate from Judaism. And so church and state unite, as we'll show you a little later in the video. And as they do, Constantine passes the Sunday law in 321 AD to close the workshops on the Venerable Day of the Sun. Now, that wasn't a worship decree. It was a social decree.
You see that? They decided to close the workshops on the day of the sun. They decided to close the workshops on the day of the sun. That was a social decree. So what you see right here is that we have the traditions of the world mixing and mingling with the scriptures right here. So they decided to close the worship day, or the worship day. They made it as the day of the sun. They closed all the works during that day, right? So this is why, like I said, why we don't go into saying the names of these other deities, because that's what you're worshiping.
But by the time you come to the Council of Laodicea in 364, you come to a point where church and state unite. Sunday worship is introduced now into the empire. That's why here.
You hear that? First day worship is introduced.
Socrates Scholasticus says almost all churches throughout the world celebrate the sacred mysteries on the
first day worship is introduced into the empire. This is why tomorrow, everyone is going to church, because during this council right here, the Council of Laodicea, they introduce first day worship. They're literally telling you this right now. This is literal history that you can look up. That this was never something that the Most High ordained, that he put into place. We read in the book of Genesis chapter 2, right? In verse 2, the Most High seventh day, the day of rest. He never ordained the first day of rest. He ordained the seventh day to be the day of rest. But later on down the line, you have a group of people that decided to say, you know what? Today is going to be the Sabbath day.
The Sabbath every week. But the Christians of Rome, because they have begun to compromise in Alexandria, where you have a very high influence there of Christianity and sun worship. So the statement is critical. Sunday observance was the exception, not the rule. Now, additional historic.
See that? It started off as the exception, not the rule. But later it became the rule.
Sources affirm that Gentile Christians observe the Sabbath, that the Sabbath united believers with the life and teachings of Jesus, that Christians followed not only Christ's example, but Christ's command. For over 400 years, the historical record is consistent. So that leads to a very serious question. How then was the Sabbath changed? Jesus didn't do it. He says, if you love me, keep my command.
How then was the Sabbath changed? Let's go to a prophecy. Let's go to the book of Daniel. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 25. This is a prophecy that later down the line, the Roman Church, the Roman Catholic Church, would change the Sabbath day. This is Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High. This is what the Catholic Church has done. This is what the Vatican has done. Spoke great words against the Most High, right? It says, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. Well, the Sabbath day, that deals with time, right? 6 days you should do your work, but the seventh is a day of rest. Shall change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of times. This is what the Roman Catholic Church has done. And this is why it's a criminal organization, because they have made up in their minds that they will change the Most High's laws and commandments. Like even, the third commandment, right? The third commandment of the Most High is idolatry, right? But what do the Catholic Church? They changed that and made that the day of rest. Because who has more idols than the pagan church? So of course they're going to get rid of that commandment out of the 10 commandments, right? Let's play on.
The disciples couldn't do it because they didn't have the authority. In fact, it was Peter.
You hear
In
that?
Acts 5, verse 29, it says we ought to obey God rather than men.
You see that? The disciples wouldn't change the commandments because they didn't have the authority to change the commandments. They couldn't change the laws and say today is going to be the Sabbath day because I feel like it. That's not what happened. So when you keep the day of the Most High's rest tomorrow, you are going totally against what the Most High is saying. You're saying you want to do what you want to do. You want to follow after people. And that's what it always boils down to. Following after people versus following after the Most High. We rather obey the Most High rather than obey man. But you want to obey man. People want to obey man. You know, and that goes into the spirit of just always saying Kwam Yasha'Allah, right? No, it's Kwam Most High, Kwam Hamashiach Yahawashi, and then Kwam Yasha'Allah. Stop wanting to follow and obey people, right?
And God certainly wouldn't do it because in the book of Malachi, God himself says, I am the Lord and I do what? Change not. So how did this take place? Well, in Daniel 7, verse 25, the Bible talks about the change of
Malachi chapter 3 and verse 6. For I am the Most High, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. So the Most High doesn't change. He's not going to change it from the seventh day of rest now to the first day of rest because he already made that decree back in the book of Genesis that the seventh day he's going to rest. He didn't become he didn't say, you know what, had a change of heart, a change of mind, and say, you know what, now today is going to the first day is going to be a change of rest. So ask yourself, who are you following when you keep the first day as the day of rest? Who are you following?
God. It talks about a power arising out of Rome that would claim the authority to change God's law. We read it in Daniel 7, verse 25. He shall speak pompous words against the Most High, shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and intend.
Okay, while this buffers, let's get Leviticus 23 and verse 3, right? It says, 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Most High in all your dwellings. So today will be the Sabbath of the Most High, right? Let's get Isaiah chapter 56, and let's start at verse 2. Oh, this thing buffers. Promise you, man, you pay for a high-speed internet and the buffering just starts, right? When the word's coming out. But let's read this. Isaiah 56 and verse 2. It says, blessed is the man that doeth this. So if you do this right here, this is what's going to make you blessed. And the son of man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it. So how do you pollute the Sabbath?
And to change times and law.
How do you pollute the Sabbath? Buying and selling. How do you pollute the Sabbath? Having sex on the Sabbath, on the Most High's high holy day. How do you pollute the Sabbath? Not talking about the Most High, having him being in all of your thoughts. This is how you pollute the Sabbath. So it says, blessed is the man that doeth this. So if you do this right here, and the son of man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it. So you're blessed if you don't pollute the Sabbath day, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil. Having sex on the Sabbath day, that's evil. Buying and selling on the Sabbath day, that's evil. Neither let the son of the stranger that have joined himself to the Most High speak, saying, the Most High have utterly separated me from his people. The Most High separates us from the rest of the world on the Sabbath day because we're not doing what the rest of the world does. The rest of the world buys and sells on the Sabbath day. The rest of the world has sexual intercourse on the Sabbath day. The rest of the world goes on vacation and do whatever you want to do on the Sabbath day. But the Most High separates his people. The Most High hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I am a dry tree. For thus saith the Most High unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths and choose the things that please me. We have to choose the things that please the Most High. Constantly, we must do this. Choose the things that please the Most High and take hold of my covenant. Verse 5, even unto them will I give in my house and within my walls a place and a name better than of sons and of daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Also the sons of the strangers that join themselves to the Most High to serve him. This is going back to talking about these other nations that's going to do what the 12 tribes of Israel tells them to do. That's going back to Jeremiah 12 and 16. It's telling you right here. Also the sons of the strangers that join themselves to the Most High. The ones, these other nations that say, you know what? I want to follow after the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It says, and to love the name of the Most High, to be his servants, everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it and taketh hold of my covenant. You see that? So that's going into the Gentile nations that want to also do what the Most High tells us to do, keeping the law, statutes, and the commandments, right? So that's a precept that you could put up with Jeremiah 12 and 16, right? Because Israelites aren't going to make it if you're not keeping the Sabbath day. It don't matter if you are an Israelite. That doesn't matter. It matters if you are keeping the law, statutes, and the commandments of the Most High, right? So if you have a Gentile that says, you know what, I want to keep the commandments, right? I want to keep the commandments of the Most High. I want to follow after Israel, right? Then, hey, they may have a position as a servant inside of the kingdom of heaven, right? Because that's the order of it. That's how it must work. This is not no salvation, how people think a salvation is going to be for a Gentile. Your salvation is that you're not going to get no lake of fire. And your salvation is you being a servant to the Israelites. That's your salvation, serving the Israelites. And our salvation is power, rulership, and authority over all the nations.
So what is the only commandment that has to do with time is the Sabbath commandment. So here's a power, according to Daniel 7:25, that intends to change God's very law. I want to go to the very references historically, and I want to show them to you. I don't only want to tell you about them, but I want to hold the references in my hand. Here, for example.
Now, this is the important part right here, because this little book that he has right here is called The Convert's Catechism of Catholic Doctrine. This is their Bible on Catholicism right here. Right, this book right here, super exceeds the Bible, amongst the Catholic Church. Right, this book that he's holding right now. This is their Bible.
It is
Catechism.
A book called The Convert's Catechism of Catholic Doctrine by Reverend Pierre Guillermin. Now, this book is used to teach new converts to Catholicism what they believe is the teachings of the church. And if you look, for example, on page 50 and 51, it's going over the commandments. And as it's going over the commandments, it says this. What is the third commandment? Now, that may surprise you because you say, well, the Sabbath commandment is the fourth commandment. First commandment, thou shalt not have any other gods before me. Second commandment, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, worshiping idols. Third commandment, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Fourth commandment, remember the Sabbath, written with God's own finger. Why does this say what's the third commandment and introduce this whole idea of the Sabbath? Because the 10th commandment on covet was divided in two, and the second commandment on idolatry was dropped. You can imagine why the church, with its multiple idols, dropped the one on idolatry.
See that? This is their book. This is their Bible right here. The Catechism to Converts, right? Towards the to the Catholic Church. they drop the commandment and then they double down on the commandment of thou shalt not covet, because they have is idols. That's all the Catholic Church has is idols. They have idol of what? Saint Paul, the item of Saint Joseph, the item of Saint Mary, the idol of Bartholomew. That's all they have is nothing but idols. The idol of Barnabas. That's all they have is idols, right? In the Catholic Church.
So you drop the one on idolatry, the true third commandment, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, moves up to the second. The Sabbath commandment, the fourth, moves up to the
Let's go to the book of let me see, Ezekiel. Let me go to Ezekiel. Let's see, where's it? I'm gonna get Ezekiel. Well, this is buffering right here. Right, for those that are just joining, please.
The third.
Please like, share, and subscribe. Let me go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20, and verse, let me see, 12. It says, moreover, also I gave them my commandments. Moreover, also I gave them my Sabbaths, because the Sabbath is a commandment, to be a sign between me and them. So the 10 commandments, right, which includes the Sabbath day, this is a sign between the children of Israel and the Most High, right? The Sabbath day is a sign between the children of Israel and the Most High. But the Catholic Church takes the Sabbath day and they change it to the third commandment, and they get rid of the commandment of idol worship, idolatry, right? Because that's what they do, is idol worship, idolatry. It says, moreover, also I gave them my Sabbaths to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am the Most High that sanctified them. Let me jump down to verse 20. And hallow my Sabbaths. That means make the Sabbaths holy. And hallow my Sabbaths, and they shall be a sign between me and you, that ye may know that I am the Most High, your power. So right now, everyone that is breaking the Sabbath, there's no sign, no connection between you and the Most High. You have a connection with the world. And tomorrow, when you decide to go to church, you have a connection with the Pope and the Vatican and all the evil stuff that goes along with that. Because we're going to get into the evils of the Catholic Church today, right? This is just the start of it right here. The changing of the Sabbath day.
And they only come up with 9. So what do? You have to divide the 10th commandment into 2. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. So that's the way that goes. But let's look at this third commandment. What's the third commandment? I'm reading directly from the Convert's Catechism. The third commandment is, remember that thou keep holy the Sabbath day. We would agree with that, wouldn't we? Question, which day is the Sabbath day? Now, I'm simply reading.
So remember, for those that are just joining, they believe that the Sabbath, the third commandment is the Sabbath day, right? They changed that because they believe in idols.
From the Catechism, Saturday is the Sabbath day. So in the Convert's Catechism that's used to teach Catholic converts to the faith, it clearly says Saturday is the Sabbath day. Question, why do we observe Sunday instead of Saturday?
This is how I know Christians have cognitive dissonance, because right here in this catechism, they are saying that the Sabbath day, they acknowledge the Sabbath day is the seventh day, right? The Sabbath day is the seventh. The Sabbath day is today. They acknowledge that in this catechism. They acknowledge it, but they intentionally mislead you and say, but we're going to change it where you worship and rest on the first day. That's evil.
We observe Sunday instead of Saturday because the Catholic Church transferred the solemnity from Saturday to Sunday. Question, why did the Catholic Church substitute Sunday for Saturday? Answer, the Church substituted Sunday for Saturday because Christ rose from the dead on Sunday and the Holy Ghost descended on the apostles. By what authority did the church substitute Sunday for Saturday? The church substituted Sunday for Saturday by the plenitude of divine power which Christ bestowed upon her. So this is what the Catechism is saying. With no scriptural authority, with no command from Christ, but based on the supposed authority that Christ gives to the church, we have changed the Sabbath from Saturday, the seventh day, to Sunday, but you don't find that in the Bible. Is indeed this the teaching of the church? Indeed it is. Let's go to the Faith of Our Fathers by J. Cardinal Gibbons. Now, J. Cardinal Gibbons was probably the most pronounced, the most popular, most renowned Catholic archbishop in the United States. He became, of course, a cardinal. And here you can see the Faith of Our Fathers by James Cardinal Gibbons. In this book, he affirms the fact that if you study the Bible and take the Bible alone, you will not find anything sanctifying Sunday, the first day.
So he starts off in this book admitting that when you open the Bible, you will not find anything referencing the Sabbath day to the first day of the week, right? This is what he is admitting. You're not going to find that nowhere. So ask yourself, who are you following? Let's go to Hebrews chapter 4. And let's go to verse 4. Hebrews 4:4. For he spake in a certain place of the seventh day on this wise, and the Most High did rest the seventh day from all his works. Now, this is in the so-called New Testament, what you call the New Testament, right? In the book of Hebrews, talking about the seventh day, the day of rest, still being talked about, never being changed nowhere in the scriptures, right? It says, and in this place again, if they shall enter into my rest, the my is the Most High. And in this place again, if they shall enter into my rest, seeing therefore it remaineth that some must enter therein, and they too whom it was first preached entered not in because of unbelief. If you don't keep the Sabbath day, that's because of your unbelief. If you don't keep the seventh day, that's because of your unbelief. And right now we have a lot of people that are unbelievers, which makes you a what? An antichrist. Because you don't believe in your anti-Hamashiach. You don't believe in Hamashiach Yahawashi. You don't believe in the Most High. Verse 7. Again, he limiteth a certain day, saying in David, today, after so long a time, as it is said, today, if ye will hear his voice, harden not your hearts, meaning your heart is your mind. And I hope that you don't harden your mind to this information, to this instruction, because it's going to be class all day today, right? So don't harden your heart, harden your mind, harden your spirit to these words right here, because these words are life. It says, for if Hamashiach Yahawashi had given them rest, then would he not afterward have spoken of another day? He's not going to speak of another day, the first day, right, being the Sabbath day. He's not going to speak of another day as being the day of rest. There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of the Most High. What's the rest to the people of the Most High? The seventh day, not the first day. For he that is enter into his rest, that's talking about the Most High. Hamashiach Yahawashi followed the Most High. So in the end, it is the Most High's day of rest. For he that is enter into his rest, the seventh day rest, right? He also have ceased from his own works. I mean, you're not going to do what you want to do. You're not going to be clocking in on the job. It says he also have ceased from his own works, as the Most High did from his. You see that? Because this is the Most High's day of rest right here. So if the Most High can work 6 days, right, and then rest on the seventh day, then you can as well. Because by you not doing that, what you're saying is that you're better than the Most High. You're above the Most High. And that's what a lot of people believe. You want to call on the Most High, right, as he is some type of genie or something. that he's going to grant you a wish when you need it. You have to be obedient to the Most High every single second of the day. It's not only being obedient to the Most High when you want something, when you need something. Let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. So it says, let us labor. So labor 6 days out of the week so you can go into the Sabbath day, the day of rest. Unless you're going to fall into unbelief, right? This is why the Sabbath day is so important. Let me see if there's any more on that from the scripture. Okay, that's it on that scripture. That's all I want out of that scripture. Let's play on.
Now, this is a chapter in the faith of our Father, Son, the Church, in the Bible. And what Cardinal Gibbons is attempting to prove is that the Bible alone is not a safe guide.
Wow. Wow. Did y'all hear that? He said that this man said that the Bible alone is not a safe guide. But yet you have over 3 billion Christians in the world, 2 billion Muslims. Catholicism, this means universal. This is where Christianity comes from. It comes from Catholicism. And yet you have your leader, the leader of Christianity, right? The Catholic Church is what I mean, right? Saying that the Bible alone is not a safe guide. You need to question what you are into. You need to question the cult that you are into, because Christianity has got to be the biggest cult after hearing that statement right there. Because that's all what Catholicism is. It's universal, right? Let's play. And let me actually just rewind that. Let me rewind that statement again too.
The Church and Bible. And what Cardinal Gibbons is attempting to prove is that the Bible alone is not a safe guide. Now, he's giving you a list of reasons, and he lists his third basic reason why he's arguing that the Bible is not a safe guide. And he says, the rule of faith or a competent guide to heaven must be able to instruct in all the truths necessary for salvation. Now, the scriptures alone do not contain all the truths which a Christian is bound to believe. Isn't that an incredible?
Look at that. Let's look at this, what he wrote. A rule of faith are a competent guide to heaven. So he's saying the Bible is not a rule of faith or a competent guide to heaven. And this kind of explains why you people believe in things like Trinity, right? So this is what this man said. The Bible is a rule of faith or a competent guide to heaven. So the Bible is not a competent guide to get to heaven. Must be able to instruct in all the truths necessary for salvation. This is what he believes. The Bible is not this right here. This is what this man believes. Now, the scriptures alone do not contain all the truths which a Christian is bound to believe, nor do they explicitly enjoin all the duties which he is obliged to practice. You see this? And this is from James Cardinal Gibbons, right? This is what they believe.
Statement. The scriptures alone do not contain all the truths which a Christian is bound to believe, nor explicitly enjoin all the duties which he's obliged to practice. Now he's going to give you an example of this. Not to mention other examples, is not every Christian obliged to sanctify Sunday and to abstain on that day from unnecessary servile work? Is not the observance of this law among the most prominent of our duties? Now listen to this bombshell. Notice what it says. But you may read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, and you'll not find a single line authorizing the sanctification of Sunday. The scriptures enforce the religious observance of Saturday, a day we never sanctify. So here you have.
There you go right there. As they say, straight out of the horse's mouth, right? Let's look at Acts chapter 5 and verse 29. It reads, then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey the Most High rather than men. So who are you going to be obedient to? This cardinal right here? To the Catholic Church? Or are you going to be obedient to the Most High?
The most prominent Catholic author of the time, J. Cardinal Gibbons, saying to us that the scriptures enforce Saturday, but the church has changed that day. But this gets even more interesting. In the book Plain Talk About Protestantism Today, now this book is really a classic. It is by Louis Gaston de Segura, another prominent Catholic author. He's arguing, again, in his book, Plain Talk About Protestantism Today, he's arguing that the Protestants are inconsistent in saying, yes, we follow the Bible, but we don't keep Sabbath, we keep Sunday. And what Segura is saying, he's saying, look, this indeed is an inconsistency because the Bible teaches the seventh-day Sabbath, and it's the Catholic Church that changed the Sabbath. And so if you accept Sunday, you really are making a bridge to Catholicism, and you ought to be Catholics. That's his argument in Plain Talk About Protestantism Today. But let me just read it to you. So these are his words, not mine. It is worth its while to remember that the observance of the Sabbath, in which, after all, the only Protestant worship consists, not only has no foundation in the Bible, but it is a flagrant contradiction with its letter, which commands rest on the Sabbath, which is Saturday.
See that?
It was the Catholic Church, which by the authority of Jesus Christ has transferred this rest to Sunday in remembrance of the resurrection. Thus, the observance of Sunday, now get this, by the Protestants is an homage they pay in spite of themselves to the authority of the church. Do you see where Louis Segura is going with his argument? He says, if you accept Sunday, you do so not based on what the Bible teaches, but based on what the church teaches. So this is more than a matter of days.
See that? It's more than a matter of days. And we just read the book of Acts chapter 5 and verse 29, that we rather obey the Most High rather than man, right? Because the Sabbath day is so important. Let's go into, let's get some scriptures, right, about the importance of the Sabbath day and the things that we should be doing and not doing on the Sabbath day. Let's look at the book of Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 15, because everything that's coming out from this video right here is from the Catholic Church. What this man is presenting about the Catholic Church is designed to lead you straight to hell, right? And so you need to know what you should not be doing so you won't be led on the direction straight to hell, the lake of fire, right? Let's look at Nehemiah 13 and 15. It says, in those days saw I in Judah some treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves and lading asses, as also wine, grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. This is what we see. If you go outside right now, wherever you're watching from, wherever you're listening from right now, if you were literally to go outside, wherever city, town you live in, you're going to see people doing all these things right here. It says, and I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. That's what we're out here to do. We're out here to testify against these people that are committing these type of abominable acts on the Most High Sabbath day. There dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. So there's people that's trying to sell to the Israelites. You go to your local mall, you go to your swap meet. It's people trying to sell to the children of Israel, sell victuals to the children of Israel, right? Israel, right? There dwelt men of Tyre therein, which brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah. When we're out on the street corners, virtually online, we are contending against the people that want to have us pollute the Sabbath day. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah and said unto them, what evil thing is this that ye do and profane the Sabbath day? He said, what is this evil? Didn't we just read about this being an evil thing in the book of Hebrews chapter 4, right? This being an evil thing to do. Did not your fathers, what evil thing is this that ye do and profane the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers thus? Didn't your fathers do the same thing? And did not our power bring all this evil upon us? Think about that. The reason why we are in captivity right now, right? The reason why we are subject to taxes and burdens and back pains and being at the bottom of society and polluted food is because of the evils that the Most High brought upon us for breaking his commandments. We will have to do none of this, right? None of this stuff we will have to worry about. We have to worry about, dang, is a missile going to hit us? Am I going to have to worry about a nuclear winter? Am I going to have to worry about rationing out food? If we would have just been obedient from the beginning, if we would have just listened from the beginning, we could have prevented all of this stuff from happening right now. If we had just been obedient from the get-go. But yet we are a reactive people. Instead of being proactive, right? And taking the proper steps to ensure that we don't fall into this snare and this trap, we want to be reactive. Now we want to try to get it right when it's too late, instead of just doing what's right from the beginning. Did not your fathers thus, and did not our power bring all this evil upon us and upon this city? Yet ye bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath. That's what we're saying. By continuing to break the Sabbath day, you are bringing more wrath upon us as a whole, right? Because Nehemiah included himself. Jeremiah included himself. So we include Daniel included himself. So we include ourselves in this right here. More wrath is being brought upon us as a collective, right? And I dare any Christian to hop on this live right here and refute anything that's coming out about the Sabbath day being on the first day, being tomorrow. Because this man is literally reading proof history when this stuff was changed. Verse 19, and it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut and charged that they should not be open till after the Sabbath. And some of my servants set I at the gates, that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. So he said, you know what? Make sure no type of people come in here trying to sell something. Don't let them come in here with their food trucks on the Sabbath day. Don't let them come in here with a net of fish on their back to sell on the Sabbath day. Don't let them try to come sell us fabrics and clothing and all types of victuals. Don't let them come in here and do this on the Sabbath day. So the merchants and sellers of all kind aware lodged without Jerusalem once or twice. So they hung out once or twice, right? Because they thought Nehemiah was playing with them. Verse 21, then I testified against them and said unto them, because you got to understand, Nehemiah was a roughneck. He was not playing around. He was tough. He was serious, right? You got to imagine, you got this big modern day. You got this big, bulky, big beard, nappy hair, right? Israelite, right? That's not playing with anybody. He's not playing with any of these pencil neck heathens, right? It says, then I testified against them and said unto them, why lie ye about the wall? So he came and checked them. He said, why y'all hanging out on this wall right here? Y'all know what time it is. Y'all know that today is a Sabbath day. Why you hanging out trying to be slick, right? What you think y'all about to do? You think you about to sell to my people on the Sabbath day? This is what Nehemiah is saying to these merchants, right? If you do so again, he said, if you do this again, right? If I catch y'all hanging out on these corners again, hanging out on this block again, right? Trying to finesse my people into breaking the Sabbath day. He says, I will lay hands on you. He said, we're going to get with it. This is what Nehemiah said. From that time forth came they no more on the Sabbath, Because guess what? They didn't want no smoke with Nehemiah. Right? When you got this big brolic, probably 260 pounds of straight muscle, you know, hanging out, you don't want no smoke with a man like that, right? So he said, if I catch you again on this, hanging out on this block again, he said, I'm gonna put hands on you. Verse 22. And I commanded the Levites that they should cleanse themselves and that they should come and keep the gates to sanctify the Sabbath day. Remember me, oh my power. So Nehemiah said, remember, I did this. Ask yourself, do you have anything that you can say to the Most High and ask the Most High to remember your good works? Because if you don't have anything to ask the Most High to remember, you better start right now while you have hope, while you still have a chance to ask to do some works, right? Nehemiah put his works in right here. Nehemiah, you know, he's physically not here. He may be here in another body, in another form, another spirit, but this person that we're reading about right here in the physical form is not here. So what you need to do right now is put your works. You need to put the hammer to, or the shovel to the crops now, to the plow right now, right? And start putting in your works so you can ask the Most High to remember the things that you are doing for him today, right? It says, to sanctify the Sabbath day, remember me, O Most High, concerning this also. He said, remember what I did, how I checked these Hamites trying to sell some fish, trying to sell some trout, some salmon to my people on the Sabbath day. And spare me. You see, this is so important right here, because Nehemiah is showing us an example on how we can plead to the Most High to give us mercy for the things that we have done. He said, spare me. So have some works ready so you can ask the Most High to spare you according to the greatness of thy mercy. You see that? And then going on down, it goes into talking about how Nehemiah got with the people that wanted to have that jungle fever, right? But let's play on.
It's more than a matter of choosing which day to worship on. It's a matter of authority. It's a matter, does the church, the Catholic Church, have the authority to change the Bible Sabbath? If indeed it does, and if the Pope has that authority, then Protestants should become Catholics. In fact, this is exactly what Stephen Kenyon argues in the Doctrinal Catechism. Now, this is a very thick volume. It's called the Doctrinal Catechism. And we're going to read a number of things from it that are quite remarkable. In chapter 6, page 101 in this Doctrinal Catechism, I've read from the Converts Catechism, and that is more of a catechism to instruct people that want to become Catholic. This Doctrinal Catechism is one in which the Catholic Church bases its doctrinal teachings on. And this is chapter 6, page 101. Have you any other proofs that they, the Protestants, are not guided by Scripture? Answer: yes, so many that we cannot admit more than a mere specimen in this small work. They reject much that is clearly contained in Scripture and profess more that is nowhere discoverable in that divine book. So what he's saying is, you Protestants who say the Bible and the Bible only, you're neglecting things that are plainly taught in Scripture. What are they? The question is, give some examples of that. Answer: they should, if the Scripture were their only rule, wash the feet of one another according to the command of Christ in chapter 13 of St. John. So they say, you don't practice foot washing, so you're not going by Scripture. Well, praise God, there is a church that does practice foot washing, namely Seventh-day Adventists. Then it says they should keep not Sunday, but the Saturday according to the commandment. Remember, thou keep holy the Sabbath day, for this commandment has not in Scripture been changed or abrogated. So here, Stephen Kenyon in Doctrinal Catechism says the Sabbath hasn't been changed or abrogated. If you're going,
it hasn't been changed, right? Let's look at 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 38. And I said, O Most High, Thus spake it from the beginning, right? Because Sabbath hasn't been changed. It's been the same since the beginning. Thou spakest from the beginning of the creation, even the first day. The first day to the sixth day was a day of creation. The seventh day is the day of rest. Even the first day, and saideth thus, let heaven and earth be made, and thy word was a perfect work. The word of the Most High is a perfect work, right? Let's look at First Maccabees. Let me see. Let's look at First Maccabees, chapter 1. Let me see. First Maccabees, chapter 1, and verse 41. It says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. This is what Catholicism is. Universal, all one people, right? And everyone should leave his laws. So we have to leave the commandments of the Most High. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. So every Christian is a heathen that agreed to the commandment of the Pope, right? Verse 43. Yeah, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion. So these Israelites that go to AME, Zionist Baptist Church, First Methodist Baptist Church, Southern Baptist Church, right? Where it's a whole bunch of Negroes and black people, black folk. You consented to this as well with your religion. Yeah, many of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols. It's many people that are in the islands, right? That are Catholics. You got Catholics. Catholicism has gone all throughout Brazil, Jamaica, Trinidad, Puerto Rico. Every place where an Israelite resides at, you got Catholicism, right? And they sacrifice to these idols. You got in Haiti, right, where they have a whole slew of idols, and they got Catholicism mixed with voodoo. And in the end, that's all Catholicism is. It's nothing but a bunch of voodoo. It says, and sacrifice unto idols and profane the Sabbath. They profaned the Sabbath. Let me see. Let me read on. For the king had sent letters by messengers into Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land. These are the strange laws of the land right here. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days. You see that? Profane the Sabbath and festival days. This is why you keep Easter. This is why you got people keeping Lent, because you want to follow the laws of the heathen. Keeping Valentine's Day, right?
I go by the Bible. They should receive what they call the sacrament, that is communion service. Well, Seventh-day Adventists, of course, practice communion just as the Bible indicates. He tries to make a big point that it should be done at night. Then it says they shouldn't eat blood or strangled meat. Well, Adventists, of course, don't do that. Many Adventists are vegetarians. But notice here what he says. He says that there is no example in Scripture to justify these practices. But we go on looking at the Doctrinal Catechism. Page 174, he continues, have you any way of proving that the church has power to institute these festivals of precept? Look, answer. Had she not such power, she could not have done that in which all modern religionists agree with her. She could not have substituted the observance of Sunday, the first day of the week, for the observance of Saturday, the seventh day, a change for which there is no scriptural authority. So let's summarize where we've been. We pointed out that God gave the Bible Sabbath in Genesis. It says on the seventh day, God rested from all his work, and God blessed the seventh day, and God sanctified the seventh day.
Right. So, the Sabbath day is the seventh day of the week. People accepted this the first day of the week, right? Because it was a state sanctioned persecution. It was a state sanctioned persecution. To keep the seventh day was to be labeled a heretic, right? And nobody wants to be labeled a heretic, right? So let's shift. Let's make a little shift real quick, right? A big shift, actually. So we are going back to 305 AD to the Council of Elvira, right? Some of y'all may not be familiar with the Council of Elvira, but this next segment of the Catholic Church is going to really be a heavy one. Let me see. Let me get my video for this one queued up. See, bear with me. Let me get this. Trying to get this video queued up for this. Okay. So we're going to talk about the Council of Elvira and what this ultimately led into. So this is where the blueprint for the systematic, and I'm going to be careful with the words I use, pedophilia, right? We're going to use the word PDF, right? Someone who likes I'm trying to be very careful. Someone that likes iOS 15s and below, right? Someone who likes the iOS 15 and below, right? If you get what I'm saying, right? Those that have iPhones, right? So those that like iOS 15s and below, it says, that's what we're going to talk. This is the Council of Elvira, right? Within the Catholic Church was drafted. So this is a doctrine that was drafted in the Catholic Church, right? This wasn't an accident. It was an agenda. So the history of Elvira, it starts from 305 to 306 AD. The mandates, this council enacted Canon 33. And we're going to get into this. The first recorded legislation forbidding bishops, priests, and deacons from having sexual relations with their wives and begetting children, right? Having children, right? This was a direct strike against the natural order by forbidding to marry. With this, they created a class of men forced into the state that the Most High never intended for the priesthood. This is going to be a serious and heavy section right here. Let me cue up this video. Let me cue up this video. And I'm going to try to make sure I'm careful. Let me know if y'all can hear this. Quick. Okay, give me 1 second, y'all. Bear with me real quick as I get this stuff loaded up. Someone who likes the iOS 15 and below, right? If you get someone who likes the iOS 15 and below, right? If you get someone who likes the iOS 15 and below, right? All right, let's see. All right, let's play this video. Let's start off this video. See that? That's what we're going to get into right here. So, with this Council of Elvira, right, what it did was it pretty much sanctioned perverts, right? It's pretty much brought out that perverted spirit. is what what is done, right? Let's look at the book of First Timothy real quick. Let's go to First Timothy chapter 4. And let's go to verse 1 to start this, to open this up with, right? First Timothy chapter 4 and verse 1. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. So we already talked about how they changed the Sabbath day. They changed the Sabbath day from the seventh day to the first day, right? Speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. So now we're going to go deeper down the rabbit hole of the Catholic Church, the beast, right? Because they changed the Sabbath day, but now they changed the doctrine of marriage. Because at one point in time, a pope was able to marry, right? Their deacons, their bishops were able to marry, but they did away with that during this Council of Elvira. It says, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. Verse 3, forbidding to marry. See this? This is the Bible has all the answers to it for you, right? Forbidding to marry. The Council of Elvira made marriage forbidden. Forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from meats, which the Most High have created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth, right? So they forbid to marry. Let's look at the book of Titus. Let's get some foundational precepts for this documentary we're about to dive into. Titus chapter 1 and verse 5. It says, for this cause left I thee in Crete, that thou shouldest set in order the things that are wanting, and ordain elders in every city as I had appointed thee. Verse 6, if any be blameless, the husband of one wife, having faithful children, not accused of riot or unruly. So we see right here that this leadership has always had marriage between a husband and a woman, right? A husband and a woman. That's what we're going over right now. That it was always ordained that the Most High said that, hey, you know, leadership can have a wife or wives, right? But you have to, you can't get into what they're going to get into, because this is pure wicked. They changed the truth of the Most High into a lie. Let's go to First Timothy chapter 3, and let's go to verse 2. A bishop, because in the Catholic Church they have bishops, right? It says a bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife. That means they must have at least a wife. Vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach, not given to wine, nor no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, not covetous, one that ruleth well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, that's what it said. You have to have a family, because a family, they live in a house and you rule that household. You manage that household, right? How shall he take care of the church of the Most High? Let's play the video. You hear this? Clergy, meaning your priests, right? They are still found to be in contact with children. This is heavy right here. Let's play on. So the Catholic Church, they protect the priests that are found of messing with lower age iOS devices, iOS 16 and below, right? They protect these people, right? By moving them to different parts of the world, chiefly in Africa. And look where it's at. It's in the western part of Africa, right? And we know that our people were sent from the west coast of Africa. So who are they? Who are they sending these like Elder Priest Awam say, these filthy, nasty people to? Who are they sending them to? They're sending them to our children. Argentina, Israelites. And you see this? This is who you call that's what they say the Pope is. They say that the Pope is third in command, is what they say. You got the Most High, you got Hamashiach Yahawashi, and then you have the Pope. That's literally what they believe right here, right? Hey, this is what's ruling the world. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Some of them are, heathens. Some of them are Israelites. 16,000. 16,000. $16,000, right? Bear with me, y'all. The sound ain't working on the video again. Let me get the sound working again on the video. Bear with me. You're really trying to stop this word from coming out. Let me get this sound working. All right. Let me get the sound working on here again. All right. So let me rewind it back because the sound, I guess, wasn't working for this video. Rewind it back from the beginning on this video.
The globe and on the corner of your street. The Catholic Church. With its hierarchy, its communication, and its very darkest secret, pedophilia.
See that?
In Australia, 7% of priests are thought to have sexually abused minors, 4% in the United States. We discovered that clergymen found guilty of pedophilia are still active, often in contact with children. Thanks to internal documents, we'll reveal how church leaders protect priests accused of sexually abusing minors.
See that? How the church protects the priests that have been accused of sexual abuse to for those, you know, because I know the sound wasn't working. I'm using the word iOS 16 and below, right? So protecting someone that's messed with an iOS 3, right? So I'm trying to make sure that this word goes out and, you know, they don't flag this video for using improper language, right? So we're talking about iOS devices, the lower range of iOS devices. Read between the lines.
By sending them from country to country, notably in Africa. Our investigation into these international exiles took us to Cameroon, to Argentina, to the United States, to France, and to Italy. During our travels, we established this unprecedented map that regarding the transfers of priests involved in cases of pedophilia.
Il y a quand même cette idée que quelqu'un qui a été un prédateur pour des enfants, ben, finalement, s'il va en Afrique ou s'il va en Amérique latine, c'est pas bien grave.
See that? They said if a priest is convicted of messing with an iOS 13 device, it's no problem. We just send them to Africa. We send them to Venezuela. We send them somewhere else, right? We move them around.
Criminels.
And the victims number tens of thousands, marked with scars for the rest of their lives. Our investigations would lead us all the way to Pope Francis. We'll reveal how, when he was Archbishop of Buenos Aires, he tried to influence the Argentine Justice Department.
Su santidad, intendo a influir la justicia argentina en el caso Grassi.
You see this right here? You have the Pope that's influencing the government, right? To get one of his brethren off for messing with an iOS device, messing with an iOS 13, 14, or 15, right? Let's play.
We investigated the mysteries of the church where, on the altar of truth, God's law seems to prevail over that of men. Our inquiry into the international transfers of priests accused of pedophilia begins in the United States. We're in Chicago, in the shadow of this cathedral, to witness a very unique kind of protest.
Expose the truth. Protect.
I swear, boy. When the truth is being put out, boy, hold on. Let me rule this. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Let me see. It stopped the video, I think. It ended the stream. Let me see. Go to, let me see.
Well, what are you violating now?
Let me see. All right, shalom. It looks like YouTube did not want me to be playing the video that I was playing about the and going into this right here. That's the thing. That's let me see. Give me 1 second, y'all. Bear with me. Let me see if it's another workaround for this right here. Okay, yeah. So the video that I wanted to play, it looks like YouTube does not want me to react to the video and play the video talking about these something that's very, very serious. And this is why this world is so wicked. So what I was gonna go into and pretty much on this video is how, and maybe I can just show stills of the video. Let's see if I can just show the stills of the video. Actually, you know what? I'm not even gonna do that. This is what I want to do. Bear with me 1 second, y'all. So this is what happens when the truth is being brought out, and when the powers that be don't want certain things to be brought out. Your live is all of a suddenly cut. But let me see if I can do some type of workaround for this to keep this information going. Let me see. Let's pull. We're gonna pull up some still shots, so y'all can just bear with me. It may take a little longer, but we have to get this word out. Okay. So it was talking about how one of the popes was pretty much trying to cover up for one of his priests in I think it was Argentina. In Argentina, right? Let's see if I can find that priest. And I'm just going to share my screen. Actually, let me share this screen as we go into this real quick. We'll go over precepts. Share the screen. So let's look at this, right? Because YouTube says that we are violating their policies and stuff like that. So let's look at this. So let's go to St. Matthew chapter 18 and verse 6. It says, but whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me. Right now, the scriptures are manifold, right? Meaning they can be used on many different levels, right? These scriptures can be used on many different levels, right? So it says, but whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me. We're talking about the children, the little ones, right? This is what this is about right here. How the Catholic Church is pretty much the mob. It's a syndicate, right, of crime. It's an organization of crime. It says, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. That's what the Bible is saying. These people that offend the little ones. Let's look at this guy right here. Let's see if I can find his case. Australia, because what they do is they take these priests, right, that are convicted, and they move them to a different region, a different country, a different continent, so they can continue to be priests, right? So let's look at this article right here. It says PDF priest committed abuse in the safety of another clergyman's home, survivor says. So let's read this article right here. More evidence has come to light that PDF priests working in the Melbourne and Ballard Catholic Diocese operate in an organized network that included a suburban safe house. Dion Cameron was in his final year of high school when he traveled from his family's home of Penhurst in Victoria's West to stay at a church residence, Melbourne, to visit his mother in hospital. Now, a church is a place where you should be safe at. That's what you would think, right? You would think that the church is a place where you will be safe at. And it looks like I got frozen. You see, this is something else, right? They're literally trying to stop this thing from coming out. It looks like I'm frozen. Let's see. Yep, I'm frozen on the screen. Wow. Yeah, they're trying to definitely suppress this video. It's probably not going to get a lot of views because of the information that is being brought out today. It looks like the screen is frozen. I'm coming in choppy. This was not happening before. They wanted me to stop the video and everything, right? Because this is serious stuff. So this is what you got to ask yourself, right? If they're trying so hard to stop information that's literally publicly available to the people, but yet people, they're caught up in the algorithm of TikTok, right? The new TikTok and the latest dances, right? When you can easily just stream those things with no buffering, no problem, no issues, right? But as soon as the word comes out, as soon as the Bible comes out and it's related to what's going on in the world, it's a problem, right? It's a problem. Let me actually. All right. So it looks like, they're trying to really suppress this from coming out. They're really trying to suppress this clash right here from coming out. Things are coming across choppy. I was trying to show an article from ABC Australia, right? ABC Australia, and I don't know, they like froze my screen or something like that. So let's just go through scriptures then about it, right? Since I can't show footage. I can't show a video. I can't show pictures and stuff like that. Let's just go through scriptures about it right now. I'll just kind of keep another screen open where I can just kind of just talk about it. Like I said, this video probably won't get a lot of views because of they probably took it out of the algorithm, right? He took it out of the rotation. But let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 34. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 34. And let's go to verse 2. It says, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Most High unto the shepherds. That's all we're doing right now. That's all. All right. We're gonna go through scriptures and no footage. We're gonna go through scriptures and no footage because they're trying to just really stop this right here from coming out right here. So it says, Son of man. So we're gonna prophesy. It's a perfect scripture. Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Most High unto the shepherds. Woe be to the shepherds of Israel that do feed themselves. Should not the shepherds feed the flocks? That's what we're trying to do, is feed the flocks. Every Sabbath day, we want to feed the flocks, feed the people, show them the scripture, show them the truth. Ye eat the fat, and ye clothe you with the wool. Ye kill them that are fed, but ye feed not the flock. Feeding the flock. This is what we got to do. Constantly make sure this word is being brought out. The disease have ye not strengthened, neither have ye healed that which was sick. What is those that are sick? The ones that are sick are the ones that are not obedient to the commandments of the Most High. The ones that are sick are the ones that do not fear the Most High. We are trying to feed the ones that are sick this medicine, the medicine being the scriptures right here. The disease have ye not strengthened, neither have ye healed that which was sick, neither have ye bound up that which was broken, neither have ye brought again that which was driven away, neither have ye sought that which was lost, but with force and with cruelty have ye ruled them. That's what's happened to the people. We have been ruled with force and with cruelty in our broken states, in our sick states, not knowing, being ignorant of everything. That's how we've been ruled, with cruelty. Let me read on. And they were scattered because there is no shepherd, and they became meat to all the beasts of the field when they were scattered. My sheep wandered through all the mountains and upon every high hill. Yeah, my flock was scattered upon all the face of the earth, and none did search or seek after them. This is the job of the Christian church. This is the job of the Catholic Church. This is the job, is what they're supposed to be doing, but they don't do this. So this is how you know that they are anti-Hamashiach, right? We are for Hamashiach Yahawashi. We are for the Most High. This is why we constantly feed the people. And soon it's going to be where you're not going to be able to turn on YouTube, right? You're not going to be able to turn on your television and be able to listen to this word right here. This is why you have to get it now, why it's a chance, why there's hope, right? It says, therefore, ye shepherds, hear the word of the Most High. You have to hear this word right here. As I live, saith the Most High, surely because my flock became a prey. This is what the children of Israel have become, a prey. A prey is something that you eat off of. You drain it of all this nutritional substance and value, and it becomes worthless. The children of Israel have become worthless. We don't know nothing. We don't know what's going on, right? Thus saith the Most High, because Salakia, it says, as I live, saith the Most High, surely because my flock became a prey, and my flock became meat to every beast of the field. We have become meat to every nation. Every nation drains the Israelites dry. Every nation has taken and has some part in our captivity, has drained the nations dry. The nation have drained us dry. And my flock became meat to every beast of the field because there was no shepherd. There's nobody telling us how we should eat, how we should live. There's nobody out here telling us these things. You know, like I said, I'm creating a new segment that's strictly dedicated to health and well-being, right? How to shop in these last days, what things to buy, what things to put on the side, knowing how to read the ingredients and labels of things, right? Being able to get a workout in, right? Getting some type of movement going on. All these things are important. And these are things that the shepherd should be feeding the flock, but they don't feed the flock these things right here. Right? It says, because there was no shepherd, neither did my shepherd search for my flock, but the shepherd fed themselves and fed not my flock. That's what's going on right now. They feed themselves through these fancy houses, these fancy cars, these vacation trips, while the sheep are left on Section 8, welfare, right? EBT, food stamps, being taken advantage of, feeding themselves. Verse 9, therefore, O ye shepherds, hear the word of the Most High. Thus saith the Most High, behold, I am against the shepherds. The Most High is against these priests. He's against the popes and all these other folks, right? He says, thus saith the Most High, behold, I am against the shepherds, and I will require my flock at their hand. And because, and I will require my flock at their hand and cause them to cease from feeding the flock. Neither shall the shepherds feed themselves anymore. This is future prophecy. The shepherds are no longer going to feed themselves anymore. For I will deliver my flock from their mouth, that they may not be meat for them. Right? That's what's going to happen. That they may not be meat for them, that we're not going to be fed off of anymore. Right? Let's look at Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14. And let's go to verse 23. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 23. For whilst they slew their children in sacrifices, right? And think about that. How do you sacrifice your child today? When you turn your child over to the system, you're sacrificing them. When you turn your child over to these churches, you're sacrificing them. When you turn your child over to just entertainment, you're sacrificing your child, right? It says, for whilst they slew their children in sacrifices, or use secret ceremonies. Secret ceremonies are things that you know nothing about, that you aren't privy to. Or use secret ceremonies, are made revelings of strange rites. Let me hold that real quick. I'm going to go to the book of Ephesians, chapter 5. Let me see. Let me go to the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, and I'm going to go to verse. So, bear with me 1 second. Let me go to Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 11. No, verse 12, actually. Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 12. For it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret. You see that? Those secret ceremonies, those secret rites, they do things that are very, very, very shameful, right? Let's go back to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 again. And verse, where were we at? Verse let's read verse 23 again. For whilst they slew their children in sacrifices, or used secret ceremonies, things that are shameful to be spoken, right, in public. It says, are made revelings of strange rites. Verse 24, they kept neither lives nor marriages any longer undefiled, but either one slew another treacherously or grieved him by adultery. So that there reigned in all men without exception blood, manslaughter, theft, and dissimulation, corruption, unfaithfulness, tumults, perjury, disquieting of good men, forgetfulness of good turns, defiling of souls, changing of kind, disorder in marriages, adultery, and shameless uncleanliness. All these things right here is what the churches are supposed to be fighting against. They're supposed to be showing you the right way, right? They're supposed to be showing you the opposite of adultery, the opposite of defiling of souls, right? The opposite of being an idol worshiper. Let's read verse 27. For the worshiping of idols, and that's what this is all about right here, is the idol worship of said church, right? Which we know what the topic is about, right? It says, for the worshiping of idols. This is why they got rid of the third commandment. For the worshiping of idols not to be named is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil. Right? Let's look at 2nd Ezra, chapter 15. 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, and let's go to verse 21. 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, and verse 21. Like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also, and recompense in their bosom. Thus saith the Most High. So all these wicked things that's being done, the Most High is going to pay them back for every single thing, for the harming of our children, for the trickery, the deceit, the lies, the theft. Right? They have things in Spain called a catacomb, which is pretty much underground church churches that are actually built off of the bones, the skeletons of our ancestors, underground tunnels that have full of nothing but skulls, bones, right? It has to be a repayment for these things that have happened to our people. Verse 22, my right hand shall not spare the sinners. And when it's going into the right hand, that's talking about the power, right? Your right hand symbolizes the power, right? My right hand shall not spare the sinners, and my sword shall not cease over them that shed innocent blood upon the earth. So he's saying that his sword is not going to stop for those that have shed innocent blood against the children of Israel, right? The fire is gone forth from his wrath and have consumed the foundations of the earth, and the sinners which the straw that is kindled. Verse 24, woe to them that sin. Let me read that again. Woe to them that sin. Let me hold that real quick, because some people may not know what sin is. Woe means destruction. Woe to them that sin. Let me come right back to this verse. Let's go to 1 John. Let's go to 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. So it's saying, woe to them that sin. 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law. For sin is the transgression of the law. So sin is breaking the Most High's laws, like the Sabbath day, which we were talking about earlier, right? That's what sin is. Sin is idolatry, right? This is what sin is. Sin is doing anything that the Most High told you and commanded us not to do. Let's go back to 2nd Ezra again, chapter 15 and verse 24 again. Woe, meaning destruction to them that sin and keep not my commandments, saith the Most High. Verse 25, I will not spare them. So those people that go out and say, oh yeah, the Most High, he loves the sin and not the sinner. It's saying what? I will not spare them. Go your way, ye children. He said, I'm not going to spare those that are sinners. From the power, defile not my sanctuary. We cannot defile the sanctuary. Let's look at the book of Leviticus, chapter 18. Let's look at Leviticus chapter 18 and verse 21. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed, your seed is your progeny, your seed is your children, your seed is your offspring, right? The generation that comes from you. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to an abomination, right? Don't sacrifice your children to this world, because this world has a different God, a different power that's not the Most High. This world believes in Baal. Let me hold this real quick. Let me make sure I cover that. Let's go to Jeremiah 12 This is the God of this world right here. Jeremiah 12 and 16. And I'll come right back to that. And it shall come to pass, Jeremiah 12 and 16, and it shall come to pass, if they will diligently learn the ways of my people. You have to learn the ways of the Israelites, to swear by my name, the Most High liveth, as they taught my people to swear by Baal. That is the God of this world. This is who you give your children over to, right? This is who you sacrifice your child over to. It says, to swear by Baal, then shall they be built in the midst of my people. So this is how you get built up in the midst of the Most High. This is how the heathen get built up in the midst of the Israelites, is by obeying the Israelites who obey Hamashiach Yahawashi, who obeys the Most High. Verse 17, but if they will not obey, I will utterly pluck up and destroy that nation, saith the Most High. So let's go back to Leviticus again, chapter 18 and verse 21. It says, and thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to an idol, right? Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy power. I am the Most High. So we have to teach our children these commandments, these laws, these statutes. This is what's going to keep them safe. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 20 and let's go to verse 2. Again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be of the children of Israel, are of the strangers that sojourn in Israel. You see that? That give any of his seed unto an idol. Right? This is going back and referencing Jeremiah 12 and 16. Right? This is why the world needs to be obedient to the Most High, right? And be obedient to Hamashiach Yahawashi and to the children of Israel ultimately, who is going to have that power, that rulership, that authority that was given to us from the Most High, given to us by the Most High, if it be his will, right? This is why it's so important to get this thing right now. You have hope. It says, that give any of his seed unto an idol, he shall surely be put to death. So it ain't gonna be no Baal worship in the kingdom of heaven. If you bring up any idol in the kingdom of heaven, you are going to be put to death. Thus saith the Most High, right? The people of the land shall stone him with stones. You see that? This is what's going to happen for idol worship. Verse 3, and I will set my face against that man. The Most High is against you if you're following the ways of this world. If you're out right now doing whatever you want to do, buying, selling, idolatry, the Most High is against you. It says, and I will set my face against that man and will cut him off from among his people, because he have given of his seed unto this deity, an idol. Right? To defile my sanctuary and to profane my holy name. When you worship an idol, right, you profane the holy name of the Most High. You make him jealous. Verse 4, and if the people of the land do any ways hide their eyes from the man, when he giveth up his seed unto an idol, and kill him not, then I will set my face against that man. So you are accountable. You must be a whistleblower. Those that are listening right now, right? And I know some of the views kind of had it dropped off because of whatever happened. So if you have to be a whistleblower, right? So those that are listening, those that may watch the playback, you got to be a whistleblower. You have to stand up for what's right. It says, and I will set my face against that man and against his family. The Most High said he will set his face against that man and also his family, and will cut him off and all that go a whoring after him. Meaning you want to follow the doctrines of the church. You want to follow the doctrines of man, right? You want to go out the cults and stuff like that. He said he will cut him off and all that go a whoring after him, to commit whoredom with an idol from among their people. And the soul that turneth after such as have familiar spirits, right? And that's going into deities and being a wizard and stuff, right? So I'm gonna drop it right there. I'm gonna jump down to verse 13 though. It says, if a man also, actually, no, that's not the verse I wanted. Deuteronomy I wanted. Let me go to Deuteronomy 22. Deuteronomy 22, and let me see. Is this what I wanted? That's not what I wanted. Was it Deuteronomy 23? Okay, yeah, let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 23, and let's go to verse 17, right? Because we're talking about how our children right now, because I had to kind of switch gears a little bit, how the children, they are being programmed by society, are being programmed by social media, right? Which I have a class coming up on talking about that. Talking about how your soul has been hacked by social media and stuff like that. Because this is where the influences come from. They actually call people that stream, they call them influencers, right? So what is your child being influenced into doing, right? Let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 17. There shall no whore of the daughters of it. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel. So what does social media show us? OnlyFans shows us. It shows us nothing but whoredom that influences the little ones. This is how you cause your child to pass through the fire of BAAL. This is how you give your child over to the world. You set them in front of the television. Next thing you know, they want to be like Beyonce. Next thing you know, they want to be like Cardi B. Next thing you know, they want to be like Sexy Red. That's you passing your child through the fire. It says, there shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. You sit your child in front of the TV. Next thing you know, he wants to be the next Saucy Santana, right? Next thing you know, he wants to be the next Bad Bunny, right? This is what happens when you let social media, you let the algorithm, you let BAAL raise your children, which is this world right here, right? Let's look at the book of Deuteronomy chapter 27. And let's see, Deuteronomy 27 and Deuteronomy chapter 27 and verse 20. It says, cursed be he that lieth with his father's wife, because he covereth his father's skirt, and all the people shall say, we're not going to say that because it's going into an idol, right? So it's cursed be he that lieth with his father's wife. This is going into what? Adultery, right? This is going into what? Sinning against the Most High, lying with your father's wife, doing the things. And this is all that media shows you. It shows you how to be a fornicator, how to be an adulteress. It shows you how to break the commandments. That's all that this world does. Teach you. That's it. How to be wicked. The Bible tells you the things to do that's right. And we read how they have inside of the catechism, right? It shows laws that they said are in the Bible. They acknowledge they are in the Bible, but they said they're going to change them. These are now laws that converts must follow, that converts must do, right? Let's look at the book of, let me see, what's it, St. Matthew? Is it St. Matthew I want? Let's look at St. Matthew chapter 18 and verse 10. Take heed. So that means listen. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. How do you despise the little ones? You despise the children by giving them over to the world. For I say unto you that if in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. You have angels there that constantly say, holy, 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 holy. That's all they say. Kadash, 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 right? That means there's order to the kingdom of heaven. There's commandments, there's laws to the kingdom of heaven. But what does this world give us? Does this world tell you to follow the Most High? Or does it tell you to follow, your heart? Follow your own desires. Follow your own lusts. Do what makes you feel good. Right? Let's look at Let's look at St. Mark chapter 9 and verse 42. And whosoever shall offend one of these little ones that believe in me, it's about the children. It's about keeping them safe, protecting their mind, right? You have little ones, and I really wish I could have, showed some of the videos, right? But we have to, the Spirit is kind of changing it up a little bit. You have the children, the little ones that believe, right? They can recite the Most High's prayer. They truly believe in all the things that come out of the Bible. But then you have the adults that say, don't worry about that. Don't worry about keeping the Passover. Don't worry about doing what the Most High tells you to do. We see it all the time out there in Hollywood. You got little ones, children that want to listen to the word, but their parents pull them away. Come on, let's go. We got other things to do. It says, and whosoever shall offend one of these little ones that believe in me, it is better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and he were cast into the sea. That will be better if that happened, right? Then you offend one of these little ones. Let's let me see. What did I want? Let's go to Romans. Actually, let's go to 1 Corinthians. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 6. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and let's go to look at verse 9. It says, know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of the Most High. So those that break the commandments of the Most High, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it through those gates. This is why this word is so important, right? Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of the Most High. Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolater, nor adulterers, nor effeminate. Now, we talked about the adulterers, right? We talked about the idolatry, right? These are things that they say the law is done away with. Follow your heart. All these are things that come out of the law. It says, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkard, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of the Most High. All these are things that your children are being taught to do when you set them in front of the screen unsupervised. Even when you go to the movie theater, right? They throw these things at your children subliminally, right? Messages teaching your child to be wicked. This is the offense to the little ones, right? Revilers nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of the Most High. Verse 11, and such were some of you, some of us, right? I'll be the first one to say that I'm guilty of these things right here, right? Not being effeminate, none of that right there, but guilty of some of these other things up here, right? It says, and such were some of you, but ye are washed, meaning when you pick up this Bible, this word right here, it's what washes you. It's not being dumped into a water, right? And then pull back out. You dumped into a water as a sodomite, and then you come out again, and you're just a wet sodomite, right? That's all that happens. Being washed meaning you learn the commandments, Leviticus 18 and 22, right? You learn that you can't, a man can't be with a man, a woman can't be with a woman. You learn these things, and you're trained up as a child on the way that you should go. So when you get older, you don't depart from these things. This is what it's all about. It's about training the little ones, the children. We are still the little ones. This is why we're called the children of Israel, right? Because we still have that. You should always have that mind to want to learn, to know more. A child always wants to learn and know more, right? Let me see. It says, and such were some of you, but ye are washed, but ye are sanctified, but ye are justified in the name of Hamashiach Yahawashi and by the spirit of our power, right? Let me see, I'm gonna get a few more. I really had wanted to go into the video, but we had to take another detour. We're still talking about the little ones and not them being harmed, but let's look at 1 Timothy. Let me see, 1 Timothy chapter 1. Let's look at 1 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 9. It says, knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, right? So, hey, those out there say I'm righteous or whatever, hey, whatever. You're going to be in the Job spirit, it is what it is. Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, for men stealers, for liars, for perjured persons, and if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine. This is who the law is made for. It's made for us. So when they say that the law is done away with and you don't teach your children the law, your children, they grow up to be all of these things right here. Because somebody, the pastor, the priest, your neighbor, they done told you what you believing in the law for. That's done away with. That's when you become what you see now today. This is why the world is all out of chaos, all into chaos right now, all into it's in a tumult right now, because there's no law in this world, right? There's no law of the Most High in this world right now. All you have is the laws of this, the laws of do what you want to do, be what you want to be, right? Let's look at the book of let me see what I want. Let's look at the book of Jude, verse 7. It says, even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication. Does that not look like America? Does that not look like the world? The world has been given over to fornication, idolatry, right? Giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh. That's, same-sex couples. It says, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. That's what is coming. When you see these other nations coming together and they're waging war right here, eternal fire is being set forth. That's what's going to happen to this world. That's going to be the judgment of this world. But we all right now have a chance to escape. We all have a chance for redemption. We have a chance of hope right now, right? Let's look at let me see. Let's look at Ecclesiastes. Let me see. I want Ecclesiasticus. So I'm gonna get a couple more. Ecclesiasticus. Let me see. I think I'm on 41 and verse 5. Yeah. Ecclesiasticus 41 and verse 5. The children of sinners are abominable children, and they that are conversant in the dwellings of the unrighteous. Let me read that again. The children of sinners are abominable children. So again, we're talking about these little ones. The children of sinners, they're going to grow up to be what? Adult sinners, right? When you don't know the Most High's laws, you grow up to be a sinner. That's how that thing works right there. It says the children of sinners are abominable sinners, and they that are conversant in the dwellings of the unrighteous. The inheritors, the inheritance of sinners, children shall perish, and their prosperity shall have a perpetual reproach, right? Meaning their offspring is going to be a perpetual reproach, because you're going to train your child to be a sinner. They're going to train their child to be a sinner. And is this going to continue and continue and continue? The children will complain of an ungodly father and say, hey, my father, he taught me how to be this way right here. He showed me this right here, because they shall be reproached for his sake, right? Verse 8, woe be unto you, ungodly men, which have forsaken the law of the Most High. You see, destruction unto you that have forsaken the laws of the Most High. For if ye increase, it shall be to your destruction. You see how this world is increasing off of wickedness? It's only going to be to their destruction, right? That's all that's going to happen. It's going to increase to their destruction, not for their benefit, but for their destruction. And if ye be born, ye shall be born to a curse, and if ye die, a curse shall be your portion, right? So I'm gonna end it right there. It kind of took a different turn for the class, but it is what it is. The word still must come out. We will be going still live at 1:30. I guess this today they're probably it's gonna be online, because there's something they having a what is it? They have some type of movie premiere, I believe, in Hollywood or whatever. So we will be back on again at 1:30. So please tune in at that time. Enjoy your Sabbath. All praises to the Most High, right? We have to constantly praise the Most High. So once they Kwam Abanaw Yahweh, Kwam Hamashiach Yahawashi and Kwam Yasha'Allah. Tune back in at 1:30 for the class. Shalom.